Hey everyone, welcome to Season 3, Episode 12 of the Senstennial Podcast. We're back from our few weeks, month away while we were enjoying the holidays and waiting for some actual Sens games to happen, which is really the reason why we delayed recording for so long. So with that being said, let's just jump right into the 3 games the Sens have played. Actually, we're going to skip the game against Toronto because do we really need to say anything about that game? It was bad. It was not
agree.
Yeah, it was not a good time. I think that is the only Sens game this entire season where I shut it off at like goal number 5. I was like, no, I can't do this today. Not today.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you know, the Sens have 2 games in Alberta and they sneak out a 4-1 win against Calgary and manage to hold off McDavid and get a 6-4 win in Edmonton. So we'll talk about those 2 games because both great in their own ways. And we'll kick it off. Other Matt, did you watch both of those bad boys?
I did watch both of those bad boys. I appreciated the 9 o'clock start way more than the 10 o'clock start. What can I say? The Calgary Flames just looked like they could not be they had to be Sens. You know what I mean? The Sens came in and they were fully in session. Nick Paul's filth of a goal from that pass by Connor Brown, who had a broken jaw. I mean, wow. Yeah. That was a performance that we were expecting from like all of that hype from the World Cup. And I have to say, it was nice to see those guys like sort of firing on all cylinders. I'm a big Nick Paul fan. And like during that game, of course, reporter Boo Boo said that Nick Paul is probably the prime trade deadline suspect. And then subsequently I saw on Twitter, I think Mark Mathot was like, where's all this stuff coming from? And then I saw a guy take credit for it. And I was like, no, it was very much from the reporter saying, Nick Paul's probably on the block here. And it's like, well, I mean,
in fairness, that's not really how I understood like Bruce's comments. Like we're talking about like
you're right. He wasn't on the block, but he's probably like definitely a candidate for a trade deadline acquisition unless he wants to re-sign with the team.
Yeah, I sort of interpreted what Bruce was saying as, if there were to be anyone the Sens would be taking calls on this year, it would be Nick Paul, because he's like the only decent player who's out of a contract at the end of this year. He seemed to imply strongly that like it would be a good idea for both like Nick Paul and for the team for him to stay. And I suspect that's what's going to end up happening.
Yeah, we need to just somehow pawn Tierney off on someone and like, say that he has some golden experience or something. I don't know.
I know, I had a tweet at one point about Josh Brown's play being like pretty adequate. And I said, if he can string a bunch of these games together, like we get a 7th for him. Like that's money,
Yeah,
that's the trade deadline acquisition I want to see from somebody.
So I actually saw that Josh Brown playing with Brandstrom over the last couple of games. I think their Corsi is like over 60%.
That's nuts.
Brandstrom, while they're playing together. And then you look at him without Brandstrom, it's like 37%. It's like, ooh. So hey, if it's working, keep him with Brandstrom and pump up that trade value. But anyway, I think we're kind of getting away from the game a little bit.
I tend to do that.
That's okay. But yeah, that game against Calgary, it was great. Matt Murray gets his first win of the season, which is huge for him. I think all the guys on the team must have been really happy to see him finally get that out of the way. It was a game where he really kept the Sens in it early, and the whole team seemed to rally behind that momentum. And they kept Calgary off the score sheet for most of the game and were able to capitalize. Batherson had that nasty shot off the side of the helmet of I don't even
off
remember.
Of Markstrom.
Markstrom. Yeah. I was like, wait, which goal? Yeah. So off of Markstrom's head, that was a really nice shot.
Yeah.
And man, he's now going to be an NHL All-Star, which is great. But yeah, that game was it was awesome. It was great because they'd been off for like 2 weeks. So many of the players had COVID. Finally, they get to come back and they just put together like an all-around solid win. And I know some people were saying like, oh, it's like Ottawa's most complete game of the season. I think that we're forgetting the 4-0 shutout against Tampa Bay. That one was pretty great. But this one was definitely, like, I'd say a close. Or like
the 8-2 demolition of Florida was pretty great.
That was a fun one. But this definitely ranks in like, the top 3 or 4 matches that the Sens have had this season.
Yeah.
Just as a complete game.
Totally.
It was right up there for sure. So,
and I think one of the things is like the defense played really well in that game. So Murray didn't have to do a whole hell of a lot. He needed to save the saves that he needed to, but he also, I mean, as cliche as it is, like if you have a shot coming from the blue line, like odds are you need to be stopping that unless it's redirected or a screen.
Mm-hmm.
But he came up big on other saves as well, and I think that's sort of that the momentum really went into the Edmonton game, and that first period from Murray was impressive. He was on one. He was saving almost everything. Obviously, like he got scored on a couple times, but
yeah,
I wouldn't put any of the goals on him at all. And it was nice to have the run support from the team that isn't generally there. So I was a big fan of that game as well.
Yeah. Well, no, especially like against the Oilers, everyone knows they're a high octane offense, right? They did have some scoring struggles, I know, over the past month, but in general, they have the talent to score a lot of goals. Matt Murray didn't have an above 900 save percentage in that game, but you're right. Like he made some insanely good saves. He robbed Connor McDavid on the power play. That was huge.
Yeah.
Even on the Darnell Nurse goal, he got scored on, but what I really liked is that he had the awareness that he knew someone was coming down the far side and he pointed his glove at them. And then when the pass went to them, he did change to Nurse. I think he was just hoping to have some defender or some forward be able to help him out there. But what I liked is, yes, he let the goal in, and this is maybe like a really small thing, but he was showing that awareness. He knew where the other guys were coming from. He was at least aware, because I think some of the games earlier this season, he almost just seems like lethargic or not really in it. But these last 2 games, he's really seemed like he's been really in the game, really aware, focused, and playing like the Matt Murray who Pittsburgh cherished in his time there, right? So it was, I don't know, for me, just huge positives from both games. And hopefully he can carry that forward into Buffalo and Pittsburgh if he plays both games this week, and we'll see.
That's the quality of an NHL goalie that every single one of them needs, regardless of height, regardless of athleticism. If you don't have the hockey IQ to be able to determine what's going to be happening next, sort of thing, that's where you're going to flounder. And from what I saw from Murray in the last 2 games, is he was pretty aware of what was going to be happening. He was at the top of his crease. He was moving well. I don't love Murray's style. I think he's a bit clunky, similar to Robin Leonard, but I mean, whatever works. If you're making saves at the NHL level, you're probably meant to be there in some form or another. So let's hope he continues to do what he does. And then, maybe he gets enough value and Edmonton comes sniffing around at the deadline.
Yeah, if they had salary for that. They've got like what, 900K? Yeah. Anyway, Bennett, what did you think about all this stuff? Goalies, scoring, doing the thing.
Yeah, a lot of different things to touch on. I was only able to catch one of the 3 games that have happened this month, which is a funny thing to say out loud because it shows how many games have been postponed due to COVID and due to like the league shutdown and stuff. So I caught the Calgary game, and that was it. I was really impressed with how the Sens played in that game. They looked like they were really at it from the first whistle, and they played really well. Connor Brown and Nick Paul had a great game, and the Sens have been really lacking in the secondary scoring department this season, just mostly due to just like the depth issues with this forward core. So it's nice to see 2 guys in Nick Paul and Connor Brown who we expected to be regular like contributors stepping up and contributing regularly in that game. So that was nice. And yeah, a strong game from Murray. It was his first win since like the spring of 2021, and it came, this week. So that's a hell of a stat when they were reading that out at the end of the game. It's like everyone was like crowding around Murray and like, like putting like tapping on the helmet and stuff. And then they're like, oh, that's his first win since like April 2021. I was like, fuck. It's like that is a cursed stat.
It's so funny because it's not even like, December 19th, 2021, where they can like, oh, that's his first win since last year sort of thing. It's like, no, it's almost been a full goddamn calendar year since he won a game.
Yeah. Children have been like conceived and born in the time since like Matt Murray last won a game for the Senators of Ottawa. But then there was also other fun news this week. I guess like first and foremost is the fact like Bruce Garriock was implying in his segment in the Calgary game that there are likely to be Sens games rescheduled soon. It sounded like he was talking this week or that week, I guess, if we're speaking about a game on Thursday. But hopefully we'll be seeing something soon. He had sounded pretty confident at the time that the league was working on it and there should be an announcement. I've been keeping my eyes peeled every day, every other day to see, because, I was supposed to go to some of the games that got rescheduled or postponed. And so I'm keen to see when they're going to happen. So that was good. Hopefully we'll start to see some Sens games rolling a little bit more regularly again. And then the other great news is Drake Batherson is going to be the lone Sens attendee at the All-Star game, which is pretty sweet. It's a great moment for him. And recognition of the amazing season he's been having. He still leads the Sens with 30 points in 26 games. I can't remember. We had 0 point per game players last year. So having a guy who's like comfortably above a point per game pace so far this season is awesome to see, and I'm just so stoked for him.
Yeah, and I mean, even Josh Norris, like he's not at a point per game pace, but he has 16 goals already. That's pretty nuts in and of itself. So, with him doing that, you got Brady Tkachuk, who's really showing that he can create some offense. After some people kind of doubted that, he's showing he can do that.
I doubted that.
No, and that's okay, right? Like I think there was some reasonable arguments to be made about like, okay, why is his production increasing? But this season he's shown he has taken a step forward as a player, and it's great that he has the captaincy now. Aside from that, I think even Shabbat, like he doesn't have the high point levels, but he's been playing great. Zub's playing great. You got to love that goal that he scored the other night. Ooh, that was nasty against the Oilers. So, I've totally forgot. You know what? One thing that we didn't talk about that we should probably cover as well: the possibility of the Sens signing Andrei Kuzmanko.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm sure everybody here has heard about Kuzmanko. If you haven't, he is a player in the KHL on St. Petersburg. He played with Zub for a couple seasons. Ottawa is apparently on his short list of NHL destinations, which is really great. He's a right shooting winger. So I think he plays on the left wing currently, but as a right-handed shot, he could probably play on the right wing. It's not, I think, too difficult to flip, but what do I know? But anyway, potentially some top 6 forward help to play alongside Tim Stützle and whoever else they put on that line. I think that would be incredible. And I think the Sens could really benefit from bringing in some top-notch skill. And it's kind of funny how, 5 years ago, if somebody said that Ottawa was like a place where Russian players played, you'd be like, no, no Russian players play in Ottawa. And now it's like we've had Anisimov, Zaitsev, Abramov, Zub. There's a bunch of Russian players who are coming into the system and I guess out of the system. Sokolov as well, right? So yeah. So anyway, Kuzmanko would be a huge ad for the Sens. I don't know if you guys have watched any clips of him playing or what he's got, but
he's really dynamic. He seems as though he's a very offensive minded player, which, there's nothing wrong with that, especially if Stützle kind of picks up his defensive game, which his advanced stats are showing he's one of the best on the team for how good he's become defensively. And along that vein, if you have a player that's going to be so dynamic offensively, and Stützle is a magician when he's on his game, it's just kind of a match made in heaven. And you just hope it translates from the KHL to the NHL, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. Bennett, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it would be a huge get for the organization to acquire a player with his skill set, stick him into the top six, a top six that is in desperate need of skill at this moment. And I think playing him on a line with Stützle would be great. We would need, a center that would be able to complement both of their abilities on that second line. Which right now is a bit of an issue for the team. But I think that the outlook on it, if we could sign him to like an inexpensive deal like we did for Zub after his debut last season and hang on to him for a couple of years, see what he can do, I think it would be a big asset to this organization. And I know Bruce Garriock mentioned in his segment that, he's not strong defensively, Kuzmanko, that's like a liability for his game. I hope that's something that either can be improved on or if not, perhaps overlooked, because I think that we could really use his skill set kind of regardless of like the defensive liabilities, especially in a year where I haven't checked the standings recently, but we're bottom 5 still somewhere?
We're still in striking distance of the Tankathon number 1.
Yeah, I think the Sens passed Seattle, so I think they're 29th right now.
Yeah. Okay. Phew. Almost a playoff spot then. But yeah, I mean, given the season that we're having, I see no reason why he shouldn't get an extended look if we did go out and acquire him. Like the last thing I'd want to see is go out and acquire a player like him with his high octane offensive ability, stick him in our top 6 and be like, who's gonna play defense? And then it's like the fucking 29th in the league. Like, who cares? Let him score some goals, form some chemistry, and we can fucking figure out defense next season when it's less of a tire fire.
Well, you mentioned, a center that would complement them. I think Stützle is really showcasing that he should stay at center.
I think so too.
Yeah, his game is really flourishing at that center spot. And I was watching the Minnesota-Colorado game today, and apparently one of the players that is on Minnesota who is seemingly on the way out is Kevin Fiala. And he is a winger that I would love. He's got that strong offensive ability, and if he's on the way out and they don't really want to re-sign him, that they don't have a lot of leverage in trade conversations. So if you can get him out of there for a little bit, then great. Don't sell the farm, but he's a quality player, and you have to pay for quality players. Or next year it's getting Giroux in free agency at a 3-year, $7 million contract and call it a day. It's definitely interesting having this positive outlook, knowing we have a first line, we have a legitimate top line, and that is unreal. Now it's just a matter of, our second line figuring it out. But I just don't see success in a top six with Connor Brown being there. I don't think he's really there. And frankly, like Fermenton has been a lot better in the top six role. So maybe if he continues to improve, and I mean, he's 2 points behind Stützle, and if he continues to improve and Kuzmanko plays the right side, you could possibly have a line of Fermenton, Stützle, and Kuzmanko. I mean, obviously, this is a lot of speculation whether he signs here and his game would translate.
Right.
But goddamn, would it not be perfect if we had like a Panarin situation?
That would be incredible. I don't know if Eugene would want to spend the money on that contract extension, but no, that'd be good. I definitely think that when Pinto comes back, let's just say Formanton works out on that second line for now, unless other talent comes in, and then you do bring in a guy like Kuzmanko. If you have, the top line of your big three, and then have a second line of Formanton, Stützle, and Kuzmanko, if your third line is Nick Paul, Pinto, and Connor Brown, I think that's a really solid third line. Those guys all know how to be responsible defensively. Nick Paul is not the most offensively gifted player, but, like we saw with him against Calgary, every once in a while, he just comes out of nowhere and decides to show his skill off. So if you can have a line of those three guys, I think that would be really great as a third line. But again, we're going off the speculation. We'll see what happens. There's still a lot of ifs, ands, or buts in this situation. So we'll have to wait and see. But it would be really great for the Sens to land a player of his caliber from the KHL.
Darn tootin'.
Darn tootin'. So yeah, let's talk about the defensive side of things. Erik Brandstrom.
Oh.
So Erik Brandstrom, he's played 5 games this season. Doesn't have any points, but he's looked pretty good overall. There's definitely been some defensive lapses for him, but at the same time, offensively, what he does on that second power play unit, he actually gives it life. I think the second power play unit has been a black hole for most of the season. He has really helped that.
So bad.
And I tweeted it out from our account the other day. He has great vision in passing. When he's in the offensive zone, he is just so aware of everything. He knows where guys are. Man, I can't remember which goal it was now. I think it was the Nick Paul goal, the really nice one.
It was,
He kept it in the zone. He made a nice play at the blue line to keep it in, and it led to that goal. So it's too bad he wasn't credited with an assist on the play, because he really did help make that whole thing happen. But I think right now, in my opinion, he has a spot locked in this core 6 blue liners. And I want to know what you guys think too.
I mean, if I can jump in here, Bennett, and let you go ahead.
I mean, for all the reasons that we said that, we should hypothetically give Kuzmanko a shot. I mean, we are 29th in the league, and we are not going to be a playoff team this year. Sorry to sort of burst anybody's bubbles still. But man, this guy has been with the organization for a few years now. He's never quite had the opportunity to put in an extended run in the team, except maybe the end of last year. We need this guy to have his shot. And I think it should have been before, but it should definitely be now. Let him sink or swim. Let him have an extended run in the team until the end of the season, preferably. Let's see what he can do. Let's see him navigate his first downturn in form, and then see how he climbs back out of that hole, which is something that all players have to do at the NHL level. No one except the complete freaks of the game, like McDavid or Draisaitl or Matthews, everyone else goes through scoring droughts and rough patches and stuff, and he needs to be able to figure that out and not get demoted as soon as it starts to happen. And then we need to put him in a position to succeed, with guys decent, pair him with someone decent like Holden, who is at least not going to be a millstone around his neck. I mean, we said that he'd been playing all right with Josh Brown the last couple of games, but we know how much of a liability Josh Brown is. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And sticking him with a guy like that, indefinitely, only to watch the pairing crumble under pressure, is not really to the benefit of anybody, least of all Brandstrom and or Josh Brown. So anyway, I want to see him play. I want to see him play until the end of the season. And I want to know what we have in this guy, because we still don't know after all these years, and we should by now.
Yeah, I agree. I think he really needs to get his chance. I think he probably would have played more this season if he hadn't been injured after like the first 2 games he played. But I definitely think that it's time to give him a shot. Like, even his biggest detractors, let's talk about, like Sean Simpson on TSN 1200. He was talking about Brandstrom.
I thought you were going to say DJ Smith.
Well, that too. But even Sean Simpson's like, I don't know how he didn't start this season above Mete, Brown, and Michael Del Zotto, right? And it was just like unfortunate that his contract allowed him to go down to Belleville without waivers. That was like a huge thing. I think that's the reason why he was sent down. I don't know why they wouldn't have just sent down, Del Zotto or whoever on waivers, right, to make room for him initially. But anyway, that's besides the point. I think that, when even detractors of a player are like, this guy should be starting on the roster, that's a really good sign. And I think DJ Smith is liking how he's played lately. I know the goal that Yamamoto scored against Murray the other night, Brandstrom didn't really do much to kind of nullify Yamamoto on that play, which is, you want to see a bit more, but for the defensive lapses he has, I think he has a lot of offensive upside to his game that can really be tapped into. I don't think he's ever going to be a defensive stalwart, but that's also not what his game was ever supposed to be. And I think you look at a guy like Sam Girard, who's a smaller player, offensively great, not the best defensive player, but he's good enough to establish himself in a role in the NHL as an offensive point-producing smaller defenseman. I think that Brandstrom fits that mold. He just needs to be given the opportunity.
Yeah,
that's my piece.
I think you you both hit the nails on the head. The Coles Notes version of his is imagine if he's playing well now, imagine how well he would play with a legitimate NHL defenseman.
Yeah.
Josh Brown, we've seen time and time again exactly what he is. He's a fringe NHL defenseman, and that's the reality of it. Erik Brandstrom has not been given as many opportunities to succeed as Josh Brown has. And that's frustrating when, especially considering Brandstrom was the centerpiece of the Stone deal. We're never going to forget that. And until he's given a proper opportunity to succeed at the NHL level, playing with legitimate NHL partners, it's not going to happen. We're not going to be able to see what he actually is. The last 2 games, he's shown flashes of brilliance. His offensive capabilities with his vision and his passing ability is, second to only Shabbat on the back end. He does bring something, a je ne sais quoi to the second pairing on the second power play unit, because frankly, it's dog crap. And if we don't have a defenseman who can play it, it's even worse. I just want to see the guy given a fair shake. In the 5 games, I think he's been way more solid than Josh Brown or Victor Mete or Zaitsev, frankly. But, Zaitsev has that big contract. Victor Mete and Josh Brown should not be afforded the same opportunity that Zaitsev is comparatively to Erik Brandstrom. It's just completely asinine that Brandstrom is still, flip-flopped out of this lineup. But the biggest telltale will be if he comes out, they were lying about this whole the youth movement is nigh sort of deal. That's BS. And if Brandstrom has to come out of this lineup because you want to play Josh Brown, DJ Smith is not the coach you should be going ahead with if you're going with the youth movement.
Yeah, and it's like, what are you trying to like achieve with like a rebuild if you're going to play like replacement level scrubs over like prospects whose success is like extremely important to your organization?
Yeah. Or your trading credibility, for that matter.
Yeah, totally.
So before the next time we record, there are going to be, if all goes as planned, 4 Sens games. All right, so we're gonna predict how the Sens do.
What's that like?
I'll spell it out for you. But just before we get to that, everyone who's listening, thank you for listening so far. If you're watching us on YouTube, we also have a podcast version of this. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, really anywhere you get your podcast. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, you can find us at YouTube. We upload our videos now with videos. You can see our lovely, ugly mugs and see our facial expressions and us laughing at Bennett's choices of men who he thinks are attractive on the Sens, like Nick Foligno, who we still don't forgive him for.
I continue to die on that hill.
The Nick Foligno hill. All right. I can appreciate that. But we'll get to the damn it. We'll get to the game. So this week they're playing the Buffalo Sabres on Tuesday. Then they play the Pittsburgh Penguins in Pittsburgh. Buffalo Sabres at home. So Thursday is in Pittsburgh. Saturday against the Capitals in Washington. And then Sunday they have a back-to-back. They're playing in Columbus. So 4 games, 1 home, 3 away. What do we think the Sens come out with here after these next 4? What do you think their record is?
Are we sure that Buffalo game is happening? I was under the impression it wasn't.
Yeah, no, it is going ahead without fans.
Okay.
Without fans.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'd heard.
I'm going to say 1-2-1. I think we're going to beat Pittsburgh. I think we're going to lose to Washington and Columbus. And I think we're going to have an overtime loss to Buffalo.
Oof. Dude, that's rough. I don't know if I can get behind that, but okay. Bennett, what about you?
I'll go for a 50-50 split. I'll say that we take the Sabres and the Blue Jackets, but we drop the contests to the Penguins and the Capitals.
Yeah, I was kind of going to go the same way. I think Ottawa and Buffalo always play each other close for whatever reason. So, yeah, I'll go with a tight win over Buffalo. I think against the Pittsburgh Penguins, I know last time the Sens really handed it to them. We really sensed them last time. This time, I'm not sure. They have Malkin back, so I'll say Pittsburgh takes that one. And then going into Washington, I don't know. They're pretty hot. They got Ovechkin. That Ovechkin guy's a pretty all right player. I don't know. He's got a bright future in the league. So I'm going to say that Washington probably holds off the Sens. But I agree with Bennett. I think that Ottawa could take Columbus. Columbus hasn't been overly great this season. Goaltending hasn't really been there. Patrick Laine, I haven't heard really much about him, and he's supposed to be their offensive stalwart, really. I don't know. I think that the Sens could take him. And so I'll say 2-2 is the worst I'll give them. And I'm confident with that. Let's go.
There you go.
It's the Murray revenge tour. All right. We're all gonna be in this together. We're gonna get some dubs here.
That's the hope.
All right. Well, on that note, thanks everybody for listening or watching. Really appreciate it. You can find our social medias on the YouTube channel if you're watching it on YouTube. If you're listening on podcast format, you can find us on Instagram at the Senstennial, Twitter at Senstennial, Facebook we are on as well. We don't use it too much, but Twitter is our primary thing. So feel free to DM us there. We're also on Reddit. I do write-ups of some of the player interviews that pop on to TSN 1200. So if you appreciate those, and read those and drop us some upvotes, then thank you for that. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. So thanks a lot, and go Sens go.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Oh no, don't.
Go Sens go.
All right.
Go Sens. Sens are in session.